So we're going to go ahead and take a different approach to a similar problem, and that is, how do we count rows in a list and display them within PowerApps? So there are several other videos on my channel that talk about different approaches. This one that I'm going to go over today is a simpler approach, I guess, where it's really just using Power Automate to run through some scripts and kind of do some things. And we're going to create a different list just to store the data, and then we're just going to display it inside of the Power App. Sometimes people come back and say, well, my update isn't working right, or things of that nature. So we're going to go ahead and trigger this flow from so that it just runs every minute or every 2 minutes in a recurrence type of model. So stay tuned, lots of good stuff. We're going to go over the flow itself. We're going to talk about how to make it, and you can make this at home on your own and test it, and then apply the concepts that we do here to a lot of projects that you might have using Power Automate. So stay tuned. Okay, the first thing we're going to start off with really is the creating the environment. So let's start there. We have a list here, and you can create this list as well. We just have title and description. That's it. This is just, and I have a test area called Company X. Okay, that's the first list. So pause the video if you need to take and create this list. All right, and you don't have to have any of this other stuff. You could just create a list with title. That's fine. Okay, let's go to the second list. So the second list, we're going to keep in that same area. And remember, when you're creating your list, when you hit new list here, remember that you're putting it inside of a SharePoint area. We're not putting it in our personal, okay? And then we're going to create another one in that same area. Notice Company X again, and we're going to just name it List Count, and we're going to give it a field called Count. This is not the title field. This is this field called Count, and it's a text field, a simple text field. So pause the video. Go ahead and create this. I'll wait for you. Go ahead. Okay, looks like you got it done. So let's go ahead and go over to the flow. Pretty easy, right? This isn't that hard. The one thing you do need to remember is the name of your SharePoint here and the name of the list itself. So let's go ahead and do the first thing. We're going to set up a new flow, and remember within Office 365, excuse me, here when we create a new flow, we have multiple options to create that flow, right? We're just going to hit create, and then we're just going to say right here, automated flow. We can do others. In our last video, we did an instant flow with Power Automate, with a Power App link, but we're just going to do an automated flow, okay? I'm sorry, we're going to do a scheduled cloud flow, okay? So this is the one that we're choosing right here, create scheduled cloud flow, okay, great. And you're going to come up with, it's going to ask you to give it a name and blah, 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 and it's going to ask you to put in the frequency. I'm just going to say every 2 minutes for this video, okay? Now, you're already a good way through this, and you're doing a great job, so stay tuned. So here, we're going to go ahead and do 2 get items. The first get item that we're going to do is we're going to collect the information right here. Whoops. We're going to collect it from Company X, okay? We can select, you just select here and collect and point to the site address, and then you point to the list within that site address. Now, and I use top count, so I put top count on there at 1,000, top count at 1,000. And then I do the same thing with this one here, list count. So this get items is cascade data new second list, and this is list count, and that other list is the first list we looked at here, which is this one. Okay, this is this sample one. So we have 2 lists because what we're doing is this is the list with your information. So this will be your primary list that you want to count the rows in. And then this list here, list count, it's only one field because we're feeding that list. We're just feeding it this count. So we're doing a count and just dumping the data in there. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. All right. So we're clear there. Get these two. Let's go ahead and look at the help file real quick. Again, these help files are a great way to pause your screen, take a screenshot so you have all this data down for you. This is what you need. Get items, right? You call your site, your list, your 1,000 top count, and the same thing here. We're going to get these items. And the reason why we're getting the list count item is because we're going to delete the information in there. In fact, we're going to do it in the next step. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. All right. So here we have a loop. To get to this loop, all we do is we're just going to click on here and add a next step. So you can add a next step in here. So I don't know why what I've done here. Let's flip over to the old one. So we'll flip over to the old designer. Sometimes the new designer kind of wigs out on me. I'm sure it was probably something I did. But let's let the old designer pick it up. All right, so here after this list items, we're going to click on this. And for the action, we're going to type in delete item. Okay? And that's going to give us, item. And that's going to give us right here, this SharePoint delete item. That's the one we want. Once we do that, it's going to throw us into this loop automatically. Now, notice the value here is list count right here. Get items from list count. Do you see that? Get items from list count. That's where we're pulling the information. So we're seeing what this generates here, and then I'm going to tell it, hey, I want you to delete that. So when we go into delete here, we're going to say, notice here, I just popped this up here. I can get rid of that. I picked my site address. I picked my list name. I go into the unique identifier and I say, from the get items for list count, which is this one, I want to grab its ID. So basically, you're going to grab, it's going to look for an ID inside that list, and it's going to delete whatever it finds. And that's kind of what we want to do here, because we want to get rid of that information because we only want one number in there to pull into this gallery. Okay? And that's all we do. Oh no, now we got to set up the variables. Okay, so we got that, no problem, right? Pause if you need to. Let's look at the variable. So here's the first variable that we're going to create right here. Now I just called it var list row count. You can call it anything you want. Here's the integer, and here is the data that we need right there. You see that? So you'll want to pause the video to get that code right there. And you're going to put it right here under value, and you're going to do that right there. You're just going to click on this. It's going to pop open. You're going to click on expression, and then you're just going to type in that value. This get items right here is this get items right here. So it's pulling the data from there, okay? Because what we're doing with this variable is that we're counting that information, okay? So let's go back there, expression. I'm going to paste it in because I already know we're going to hit okay. So that's what that is. And just as a note, I usually put it, I create a note, right here, edit note, I add a note here, and I always put what that is in so it's easier for people. Okay, and then create item. So we're going to go back to that list count, and we're going to create this variable that we collected, right? Notice that variable is right here. We initiated it and filled the value in with this code, and then right here. Okay, so just follow that along, and let's see this with our cheat sheet here. Here, we're creating, initializing. Now, here I did an initialize and a set in two different actions. You don't have to do it this way, but list count integer, and then we're going to set the variable, that variable right there, they're the same, and then there's the length. Okay, so you can do it either as one step or two steps. And then here, we're doing this right here, list row count right there is right here. And we're just putting in that variable. So when we go there, we click on it right there, variables, var list row count, var list row count. Good? Everybody good? So we're going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to run it real quick. Hold on. The reason why we're running it is just so you know how to kind of check your work, right, to make sure everything's working right. So here we did the initialized variable. Remember, inside of this variable right here, we did the count. This is the money right here. That's where we're counting what rows are inside of the inside of this list right here. So that's how we're counting them. And we counted 2. And so here's the 2 there. And if we go over to that list, we can see that there's 2 items in that list. Now we can also go and change the number of items and rerun the flow. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to just add a 3rd item here. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the flow. I'm going to hit edit and I'm going to retest it again. And what we're going to see here in this new test is if it's working right, when we go in to look to confirm that everything's working, we're going to see that the count has moved from 2 to 3. And let's go ahead and look and give it just a minute. Remember, we have 3, count 3. And if we go over to the count list count, and there should be a 3, there is. And that means if we look at this and we go here, count is 3. So, you know, it's working. Pretty cool. Congratulations. That's as simple as it is to get to this point. So I'm going to go back through just real quick. These are the steps. So pause this video and do screenshots if you want. So this is the first one. We list out the 2 SharePoints. This is the one with all of our data. This is the temporary one that we're just storing the count in. Okay. Here we delete the count. Basically, every time the count runs, it's going to be different. So we're just going to delete it and start over. Okay. Here we're going to initialize the variable. This is the money right here. This is where we do the count of the list, the first list right here, our list with our data in it. Okay. And then we're going to just create that item inside of this list right here, list count. That's it. Now let's go over, and I apologize for this being a little long. Let's go over, this is pretty fast. Let's go over to PowerApp and let's display this information. So if we go over to PowerApps and we just create a table here, let's go ahead and see here. All right. So I don't know if you just saw that change to 3. It was a 2, now it's a 3. So let's go through the 3 things that you need to do. First of all, you need to create a gallery. This is a gallery right here. And if you look inside that gallery, this is a label. And notice here under the label, see I'm here at the label, so I went to insert, and I always just type in gallery, went to vertical gallery, and then when it came up, I just created this label right here. That's it. Simple as that. You can do small galleries. Doesn't have to be anything big. And notice here, I just did a this item count. Why count? Because that's the name of my column, right? So I'm just putting in the data. It's literally this simple, okay? So that's the first step. And I'm going to show this to you in the Word document and go through it a little slower. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to this right here. This is the screen. So this means every time, so we set the flow here to run every 2 minutes, okay? And that may be a little aggressive. I'll probably adjust it after this video. But to run at a specific time. This right here on visible means that every time this is selected, in fact, let's go through while we're doing this video, we can go to, where's that list here? Sorry. Let's go ahead and add just a couple more in there so you can kind of see this working in real time. All right. And I'll do another one. Okay. So we'll just add those while we're working through this. Okay. So when we click on here and the on visible, that means whenever you click on that screen, on visible is going to run whatever. And we're just telling it, hey, refresh this list. So I'm pulling this list, I'm pulling one field, the count field, out of this list. Just refresh it every single time I come onto the screen, and it will, okay? And then this refresh button does the same thing. On select, refresh list count. So let me just go over that in summary here and we'll be done. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to, in PowerApps, you want to go ahead and create that gallery right here. And you're going to create, this is a label, notice right there, label 37. You're going to create a label. And in the text area of the label, you're going to write in this item.count. And remember, count is the column name in that list count list. It's a lot of lists. Okay. Then the next thing you're going to do is go back to your screen, but on the screen that it's in this example, it's in the data management screen. We're going to put on visible. We're going to do refresh that SharePoint list. Okay, inside of here. Then so that's taken care of if I bounce between screens. Then I also want to put in a button just so you can see. Refresh, just create a button, add a button, and then you're going to just add the on select properties. You're going to refresh that list. And that's it. You're golden. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here and see if this thing refreshed. And notice that it just jumped from 3 to 5 because we have those 5 things in there. We didn't have to do anything. It's magic. It is indeed. So good luck with this. This is just another way, a very simple way for you to kind of get through doing this count. And it is consistent every single time. Good luck.